The promo code is Dangle. It's a big week. You want to get clean for the draft, don't you?
I mean, ideally.
I mean, you guys are flying out on Wednesday. I'm driving to Montreal. It's draft week. Are your balls clean? Dangle, 20% off. Maybe that shipment can meet you in Montreal because it's free at manscaped.com. Promo code Dangle.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Powered by Sports Interaction. Canada's Sportsbook.
Back at it.
SDP. The Steve Dangle Podcast. With your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
Hey, just a note about the schedule this week. We're doing a show today. We're doing a show tomorrow. And then we are doing a show Friday. So it'll be, today is kind of what's happened this weekend. Tomorrow is going to be a little bit of pre-draft. And then obviously there'll be some trades and some things happening today, we think. So we figured tomorrow might be a better day to do it. And then Friday, obviously, is going to be the post-draft extravaganza. But you'll still be, Steve, by the time, like, when we record it, Steve will not have gone to the second round yet. Because no, you will have, right?
Wait.
What are you talking about?
One more time?
So Friday show.
Yeah. No, he would not have. The second round doesn't start till like 11 on Friday.
That's right. So we're going to record the show before that.
Are you going to the second round?
I don't know.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know.
He might go. He might not go. But if you're asking us beyond pick 32 to know what happened, we won't.
We have tickets to the second round.
Do we?
Yeah.
Do we?
If you want to go, we can.
Yeah. You guys should go.
Yeah.
You know what?
I want to go for round 5. That's what I'm there for. Round 5 is where I want to be there.
I want you to experience we have a trade to announce in person.
Are you also bringing a pillow so you can sleep? How boring it is.
Well, we have a trade to announce would be very, very cool. It's just so much less exciting in the NHL than it is in like the NBA or the NFL.
Well, and even the people who go, like we're talking about the nerdiest of the nerds.
Yeah.
After round 4, they're like, all right, that's enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's always funny too. Like the trade to announce is like Kyle Dubas is trading a first round for 2 seconds.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like it's
the day 2 of the draft. He did it right before the day even started. Before pick 1 of round 2, he went, "We're trading Patrick Marleau. Here we go, woo!" And it's like exciting. Don't make me wait till the 5th round for. Oh yeah, we got our 14th forward for a 5th. You knock that off, Kyle. You do that shit at the beginning of the day. You have until pick 100. There
it is. There's the threat.
There's the threat. Or else,
or else
he'll be sorry.
He will. I'm sure he will.
He's actually so tall and large.
Is he really?
Yeah, Dubas.
He doesn't seem like a tall man.
He's like 6'1".
He's at least
that tall.
Okay, that's tall for us, okay?
All right.
It's tall for us.
Oh, no, he's so tall.
No, not for Jack Skellington, but for the rest of the characters from A Nightmare Before Christmas, he is slightly tall.
That's a great movie.
Adam, yes.
Over the weekend, you revealed that this week you'll be losing your virginity. This will be your first draft ever.
Draft. Yes.
Yeah, and so, Steve, can you... I'll also be losing my draft virginity. Mm-hmm. Steve, can you give us a heads up on what the experience is like? Because you've been to 2?
3.
3,
only 2 properly. So I went to the Matthews one in Buffalo. I had, this is so stupid, but I had a wedding to go to the next day where I was a groomsman, but the Leafs had the first overall pick, and I'm like, it's in Buffalo, I'm not missing this.
Yeah, you had to go.
So I stayed to pick 15 and left. But I had to see the Leafs get the first overall.
So that
pick
half counts.
Yeah. Philly was my first draft and first full one, and then I was in Vancouver in 2019 as well.
What do we expect? What's it like?
Oh man, so it's actually really fun because if you're good at recognizing faces like I am, you at any given moment you might be like, I'm pretty sure I know that guy behind me. I think I know. And there was a guy I'm just like, is that okay? He works for the Leafs organization. That I'm sure of. And so I just start going through the chart and I'm like, that's Scott Pellerin.
Oh,
I used to have you on my teams in fantasy draft and in video games and stuff. So it's a lot of, if you see someone who looks like they might have used to play professional sports and they're in a suit, yeah, they did.
Because you have 32 teams bringing probably most of their front offices to Montreal. So they're probably going to be around the city like all week. And there'll definitely be around the arena when you're in the draft, right?
And it's the United Nations of fans. Everyone. Like, you're going to see all kinds of jerseys, all kinds of shirts, and everyone is getting along because there are no games at stake, and hope springs eternal. It's just everyone, their team, the pick that they get, you wait for this kid.
This kid's great.
And even if it's a bad pick and it's not the one they wanted, well, this one scouting thing actually had this guy ranked 7th overall, and we got him in the 2nd round. So just you wait.
Well, let's enjoy that. I love a good hope springs eternal, backed up by little to no evidence. Because sometimes that's just fun.
None of the negative stuff, unless your team decides to end the draft by drafting a player who said he didn't want to be drafted. None of the negative stuff. It should be a lot of fun, unless the Habs decide to ruin it for everyone.
Everybody's got a chance to win the Stanley Cup in July.
That's right.
Except for that one year where the Stanley Cup was awarded in July because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But besides that,
there was
everyone's got a shot in July. Very nice.
Chris and Julian are Julian's not feeling well, so they may not get a show done early this week, although they might. I just know that they've got a really busy schedule, but they are for sure going to do one on Thursday, and it's going to be in person because they know we brought our studio. So I think they're trying to come on over and do the show in the studio, which is great. We're setting that up in a hotel room, doing the whole studio setup.
There's going to be so much space. It's going to be great.
A lot of space in this hotel room that the three of us are staying in. It'll be great. I'm excited.
And not stuffy.
And then, of course, to prep you for the draft, we've got draft stories with Alan Walsh. And you get to meet probably top 10, maybe top 5 pick David Juracek, who is known for his big-ass slap shot. Really nice guy. And learn to speak English over the phone 30 minutes at a time with an English tutor.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. For a year and a half. That's between
Starting
training
when?
sessions. About a year and a half ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Should we play the clip? Do we have the clip?
Yeah, we can do that now.
Okay, so there's a clip, Steve, we wanted to run by you. Because Alan tells a story in this podcast. It's released right now. And there's a few other amazing stories about one Yaro Halak. Okay. Halak, what round was Yaro Halak drafted in?
5th.
5th round.
You want a hint?
Yes.
The round doesn't exist anymore.
8th.
Later than that.
10th.
Too far.
Ninth round. He's a 9th round pick.
Wow.
He's got to be one of the best 9th round picks ever. Probably the best 9th round goalie ever. Yaro Halak.
Man, probably.
You're saying that based on no research.
Doesn't matter. Who's drafted in the 9th round?
Sorry. What Adam meant to say was definitely.
I said maybe. Now, have a listen to this story, Steve. I think you're going to love it.
Halak to Montreal, huh? I said, yeah. They said, did you see what happened at our table? I said,
so for context, this is Alan talking to a scout after the draft.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Halak to Montreal, huh? I said, yeah. They said, did you see what happened at our table? I said, no. They said, well, we had focused for our 6th round pick to draft a goalie. And we had 2 goalies in the wheelhouse, and one of them was Yarrow. We ended up getting into an argument at our table between Yarrow and the other goalie. And we're going back and forth, and it's getting a little heated. There were some scouts at the table who really believed we should be drafting Yarrow. And there were others who equally forcefully believed they should be drafting the other guy. Finally, the GM at the time goes, all right, I've heard enough. Who's the taller goalie? And they said, well, the other guy. That's our pick. Go draft him.
And that is how they decided to not draft Yaro Halak because the GM said who's the taller guy.
All right, can you guess what team?
Anybody could work in an NHL front office. I'm stunned.
Isn't that
often
crazy?
Do you see me at a loss
This
of
is
words?
why I keep saying AP. Some of the stories Alan tells, I'm like, what the fuck?
So what's the team? We got 3 guesses. What's the team who was the GM and who was the goalie they picked over Halak, who ended up going in the 9th. This goalie they selected in the 6th.
What year?
So Halak was... Adam, do you have it in front
I
of you?
will look it up.
He would be around 2000.
2003.
No, there you go.
2003?
Mhm.
And he's still playing?
Mhm.
Good for him. 2003. Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're right.
Yeah, I'm right.
2003.
Am I right? Yeah, I'm right. Okay.
So I was thinking Justin Pogge, and how can I make this about the Leafs? But he was before that. He was around 3 or 4.
The Minnesota Wild, in the 6th round, they had the 187th overall pick.
Jesse just gave it away. The team is...
Oh my God, we're guessing the team as well. Oh, I forgot. I thought it was just the player.
I was like, I feel like I'm not supposed to know this information.
So the team is the Minnesota
team.
Wild.
Yeah.
So, by the way, Minnesota Wild fans, you could have had Yaro Halak, but the GM said pick the taller guy.
Who's the taller guy?
Well,
Can
no,
you
no.
guess?
Did he make the NHL?
No.
Well, then no.
The taller guy's name is what, Jesse?
His name is Miroslav Kopriva?
And never played a game in the
Kopriva?
NHL.
Kopriva?
I don't even think he played in the A.
Who was the GM at the time?
A cup of coffee. The GM in the Minnesota Wild? GM in the Minnesota Wild back then?
03.
I don't know. I want to say that was around the time they beat Wah and the Avs. No, that was 04, I think. I don't know.
You don't have a guess?
Used to be GM of the Wild. Jim Rutherford. I know I'm wrong, but
Douglas John Riseborough. Doug Riseborough.
Ah.
Isn't that crazy? So the only thing that separated those two is said, I've had enough of you guys. And by the way, draft arguments happen all the time. I don't think people know that, but there are tons of arguments that happen. And you actually, we've heard of a couple famous Leaf ones, but yeah, Doug Riseborough finally said, okay, I've had enough of you guys. Who's taller?
That can't happen. First of all, okay, it's so much more unacceptable because it's a goalie. There are so few goalies. How many goalies get drafted every year? 15?
Mm-hmm.
Have a list of 15! 1 through 15! How hard is that? That was probably a little longer back then because there were more rounds.
He made the wrong decision.
Well, that too.
Like going off this height thing, it wasn't smart.
I would have more respect for them if they confidently made the wrong pick. But they're arguing back and forth. Ah! Now, luckily for the Wild, it's not like they've needed a goalie during that time frame, because I want to say they had Manny Fernandez, they had Dwayne Rollison, they've done well in net, but man, you could have had Yaro Halak instead of some guy who never played.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just because he was tall.
I'm sorry I ruined the team.
That's
I
okay.
forgot that was the guessing game.
That's all right.
Also, one of my favorite Leafs had a very contentious draft pick story table runnings back and forth with management, but I don't think we can tell that story. I don't think we can tell that story.
They're looking at me like...
you mean
no, I don't think we can tell the story.
Yeah,
but
more recently.
One of my favorite picks.
You know the draft table argument that
I
we're
think
talking
so.
about. You know which
Yeah.
one we're talking about.
I feel like it's out there, but just in case
I don't
it's
think
not,
we can
okay.
tell it. I just think it's funny.
Maybe we can have the person on sometime who does tell it.
Yeah.
Well, they got the right guy.
They did get the right
Yeah.
guy. So the Leafs had an argument, and you're going to be happy that one person won it because this person was all the way correct.
Mm-hmm.
All the way correct. Now, bit of a, obviously we started off with a bit of a lighter note, but I have to go into this story because it's the story everybody's been watching all weekend. It is a bit of a right-hand turn in terms of how dark it is. But Fedotov, CKSA goalie, CSKA, I always screw that up. So let's start from the beginning here, okay? This is what we know, and Steve, you've done some work, and you've sort of put this together. So let me just start with Carl Manson at Carl_KHL. He's the guy that tweeted this out for the first time, and that's when we started to find out about this story. So, per Russian media, Fedotov, who is a goalie, CSKA,
Draft pick of the Philadelphia Flyers.
draft picks, Ivan Fedotov, arrested. Per the Russian media, Fedotov fell ill during his detainment at the Russian military enlistment office and had to be taken away with an ambulance. Now, Russian military enlistment office is important. I'm not going to tell you what that means yet. Knowing that, and this is what Carl said, knowing the Russian regime's usual treatment of its own citizens, I hope Fedotov is all right. The Fedotov story in the Russian media has changed from possibly a mistake to could face 2 years in jail for draft evasion to, quote, will probably not be sent to Ukraine. All in 24 hours, he just left a training session in order to prepare for the NHL season. Then he was arrested and in hospital. Fedotov's lawyer, and this is a quote again from Carl Manson, at this moment, we can't say exactly how things are. He was in hospital, at least, but for some reason was not listed like the other patients. Neither we nor the parents were allowed to come see him. Recently, Russian military officers entered the hospital. He doesn't feel very well. He was given some kind of injections, which he does not know. And that's the direct translation, which he was injected with something he was not aware of. He was told that this was prescribed by a doctor and he doesn't look good. We don't know much more, but it's worrying when this happens to an athlete in custody. So, Steve, that's all we had to go on for a little bit of time. And obviously, Fried wrote about it in his 32 Thoughts, which is the last one of the year, saying it's tough for anybody to verify anything at this point. But what is the story as you understand it?
So, Ivan Fedotov, draft pick of the Philadelphia Flyers. He's been in the KHL. He's been playing in Russia since 2015 when he was drafted. He's been a full-time goalie for the last few years. He played with 2 full seasons because he was up and down from the other leagues. But he played 2 full seasons with Tractor Chelyabinsk, which is in the far east of Russia. And then this past season, he played with CSKA, who you might know as Red Army, like Central Red Army. And that's highly relevant to this story. They're one of the big money teams. You'll notice that a lot of players who come over happen to play for CSKA or SKA, who might even be more of a financial powerhouse than CSKA. There's Dynamo Moscow, who I've heard referred to as the KGB team of the KHL. You can't take it as from someone who worked for the league. You can't talk about to talk about the Continental Hockey League and to talk about the Russian government. To me, they're one and the same, right?
There's a theory out there that it's like with many sports institutions throughout history, right back to the Roman times. It's a form of crowd control. It's a form of keeping people occupied so they can let out their energy.
Yeah, and like SKA is owned by like one of the largest oil companies. CSKA is highly tied to the Russian military and always has been. Vitas Chekhov was directly related to organized crime for a number of years, and they have since cleaned up their act. But basically what happened, as I'm told, and others have told very similar stories. So Fedotov played with CSKA last year. I believe he was their Olympic goalie as well when they won the silver medal. I spoke to a KHL player who was like, holy shit, this guy's the real deal. He's one of the best goalies in the league. He's legit. So the Flyers were going to get a legit guy, and that's why they signed him to a contract. They had drafted him. They had kept an eye on him for 7 years now. And they signed the 25-year-old, and we're hoping he would come over. CSKA wanted him to stay there. They said, we want to keep you for another year. He said no. They said, we want to keep you for another year. Here's a bunch of money to stay and play here another year. He said, no, I want to keep going. The charge he was arrested on is trumped up bullshit. Basically, and this is the most ridiculous thing, and there's a history of this. So all the players who played for like in the Canada-Russia series in 72, they were technically, as hockey players, lieutenants in the Russian army.
Right.
That was their rank. Because playing hockey was basically credited to their service. CSKA Moscow is treated that way. if you play, you owe Russia 2 years of military service. He played with the team for 1 year. And so they're trying to say because he didn't want to stay here, that's evasion of military service. So we know he's training in St. Petersburg right now. We're just going to go and arrest him. So they go and arrest him. There was the tweet from Slava Malamud, who's always all over this stuff. According to TASS, I'm not totally sure what that is. The would-be Flyers goalie, Ivan Fedotov, will be sent to serve on Novaya Zemlya, an Arctic outpost. This, without a doubt, has been arranged by CSKA owner Igor Sechin, Putin's close friend, as retaliation for wanting to leave the KHL.
TASS is the Russian news organization, news agency,
according to them. And
no, it's just like a Russian media outlet.
No,
so,
I know,
yeah.
I know. So they're making an example of this guy. Now, some of you will say, well, that's the rules, and he violated the rules. And if you're going to live in a country, you have to abide by the country's laws and blah, blah, blah.
So they're essentially saying he's draft dodging.
They're essentially saying he's draft dodging. Yes. Firstly, have you ever heard of this happening ever?
No.
Evgeny Malkin defected from the Russian Federation in 2006 or 7. Defected. He left them unbeknownst to them. I believe the story was the Russian team was training in another country, I want to say Finland, and he, with all his stuff, packed up and flew to North America. He was then spotted in North America, and that's when people were like, oh, he's joining the Penguins. He's defected, right? Lots of players get away with... You think Ovechkin served in the Russian military?
No.
And he never played for CSKA Moscow, so what's going on?
So does time playing for CSKA Moscow count as time towards your draft?
That's the bullshit that they're claiming. It is and isn't true. It's true until it's not. So I have heard stories of Russian players who come to North America to play at whatever level, and they're like, hey, you haven't done your 2 years military service, and you got to come here, or you got to pay us. And so they pay the Russian government essentially a bribe.
So you can pay out of a military service.
Yeah. Now, guess how much it costs, according to what I heard. Now, it might not cost the same for every player. Just take a guess. Like, for your freedom to get out of 2 years of military service.
Yeah, like 100, nope. 200 grand.
$5,000.
American?
American. So here's the thing. It's not, according to what I've heard, and I'm sure, like, listen, for a guy like Ivan Fedotov, I wouldn't be surprised if the number was much higher. But for your freedom, for a chance to escape, for a chance to go to the National Hockey League and make your riches, for a guy who's played professional hockey for several years and probably isn't hurting for cash, for a guy who was on the Olympic team, he's on one of the biggest teams in the KHL, you would think he would have the scratch to buy his way out of this. To my understanding, he wasn't even given the option to try to do that. They are simply making an example of this guy. Russia has never liked losing their players to North America. They have never, ever liked it. And I think the agreement that the NHL and the KHL had to basically not poach each other's players who are under contract was honored begrudgingly. And, you know, there were whispers of KHL teams punishing their players. There were whispers of that with Igor Ozhiganov, remember?
Yep.
So it was rumored he was going to come to the Leafs for a long time. He's on.
And they basically stopped playing him.
Well, and they basically stopped playing him. Yeah, like one of the better defenders in the league, and they basically stopped playing him and kind of affected his career. Like, would he have been better if he was actually allowed to play? I assume so. But that's what happened. It's my understanding that agreement has dissolved with this military conflict.
Really?
Or it's on hold. You might want to look that up. But it's that's my understanding is it's not currently a thing. I don't know if Fedotov was still under contract with CSKA.
Because normally Russian players, if they want to come over, not Russian players, but players that play in the KHL, they want to leave their contract. They have to buy themselves out of it. So it's not like they just kind of both sides just go their separate ways. You're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes to get out of your contract.
Well, and like Petri Conciola, for example, who he played for Tractor Chelyabinsk in the KHL, and he wanted to try his hand at the NHL. He had to buy himself out of his Continental Hockey League contract, came to the Leafs, tried out for the team, didn't make it, and ended up going back to the KHL. So he had to buy himself out with his own money, didn't make it, and then had to go back with his tail between his legs. Because it's illegal for the Leafs to pay it for him. They tried that many years ago with Jonas Frogren. They supposedly, as the story goes, they paid his buyout. And
cost him a 3rd-round pick, didn't it?
Something like that. It was a draft pick. The NHL went, you're not allowed to do that, so they fined them. I think it was money and a draft pick. Plus, they were probably out the money that they gave him to buy himself.
Yeah, they're not getting that back
out of his contract. Yeah, and they're not getting that back. Yeah, the team, I think that was Sweden, so it's a little different. All that to say, they're making an example of this guy.
Yeah, what's happening with Ivan Fedotov is a threat to the 18-year-old kid right now in Russia who's really good at hockey, and they're saying, hey, if you want to go play in North America, don't. You're staying here and you're playing for one of our teams.
Yeah, that's absolutely
They're trying to scare them into staying in Russia and
playing
hockey.
The rules aren't being followed, or the rules are...
He was abducted. We'll call it what it is. A country led by a war criminal abducted one of its own citizens.
A legal abduction under the guise of you're being arrested.
Yeah. And, that's the country and that's their laws. God, if you think that, I wish nothing but the worst for you. You're the most easily fooled, gullible bootlicker I've ever heard of. Please shut up and go away forever. This guy was straight up abducted. And there were reports then of him getting injections and falling ill and going to the hospital. He traveled something like 1,300 kilometers in one day. They don't know where he is. Is he going to go to Ukraine? Elliot Friedman suggested something that I had heard as well, that one of the ways out of this predicament is he can just simply play for CSKA Moscow for one more year. It doesn't appear that that's the case. He's going to be stationed somewhere in the fucking Arctic for at least a year. And if he doesn't, he could face prison. And if he defects, if he finds a way to defect...
Yeah, now it's almost impossible. You're in the middle of Russia. How are you going to get out?
Yeah, now it's impossible. But if he were to find a way to defect, he'd never be able to return until there was some sort of major regime change.
And what happens to his family?
This guy's screwed.
Yeah. Have the Flyers spoken out about this?
Yes. They said they're watching it and they're concerned.
Is there like an official statement?
Well, yes, Chuck Fletcher did have a statement.
And they can't say much. People are like, well, how come the NHL hasn't made a statement?
I hate to say this, but like this is an example where I'm like, what are they supposed to do?
Yeah.
The most they can do is write a sternly worded letter. What
the Russians go, we don't fucking care. We're at war.
Yeah, the entire world basically has sanctioned Russia. What the hell is the National Hockey League going to do?
Yeah.
And the Philadelphia Flyers. All we can do is our best to keep the public aware of this. Slava Malamud said Dmitry Gaberniev, a rabidly pro-Putin Russian sports announcer. He was the MC at the Big Z rally a few months ago. The Z is the Russian military's sort of propaganda logo right now. Is horrified by the Ivan Fedotov situation, especially by the silence of Ovechkin, according to a clip that Slava retweeted from Sports.
What is Ovechkin supposed to say?
Ovechkin is enormously influential, and he is one of the favored athletes of Putin.
And I believe family very closely connected to the regime.
Yes,
not because his family are Olympians, right?
Yeah. So,
but this is the thing. Does he not endanger them if he says something?
Of course he does. We've been hammering this for a few years, and I hope it's more obvious than it's ever been to people when we're discussing this. Russians do not have freedom. They don't have freedom. If they speak out against their government, other than like gentle finger wagging, sometimes Russia will plant things. Like there was an anti-war thing, I want to say a couple months ago. Someone held a sign on TV, and there were rumors that it was
a journalist. There was a journalist that came on.
But it was rumored that it was like, it was allowed because, like, see, you can speak up in our country. We do have freedom.
They put that there to make it look like people could do that.
Yeah. So, and there's so much. And there's a ridiculous amount of misinformation. I know, I mean, this is just an anecdotal story, but this poor woman over here just trying to speak to her parents in Russia, about what's going on, and they won't hear it. Mm-hmm. They won't hear it. Now,
what do you mean they won't hear it?
They won't hear it like they don't believe it. They don't believe it. They're in Ukraine because, they're fighting for Ukraine's freedom.
Nazis.
They're fighting Nazism in Ukraine. And do they believe it because they're fed misinformation? I don't know. Do they not believe it and they're terrified to say anything over the phone? I don't know. They don't have freedom. So I don't know what the solution here is, and I'm praying for Fedotov's freedom. And also, Brittany Griner, WNBA player, first overall pick in 2013. She is another woman who was basically abducted by the regime because she had like trace amounts of hash oil or something
in a vape pen or something.
Yeah, and she's been in prison for months now. This is an active WNBA player.
Yeah, since January is when she was actually arrested, and we didn't even
that was pre-war.
The Western media didn't really even learn about it until I think April is when the reports came. It was January, February is when she was originally arrested.
Yeah. Russia does not play nice with the rest of the world at the best of times, but since this, I don't like calling it a war. It's an invasion. Mm-hmm. Russia invaded Ukraine because they want it. That's basically it. Now, some people are going to finger wag and say, does that sound familiar? Well, yeah, sure, it does.
It doesn't mean that what they're doing isn't that, though.
No.
Just because it happens elsewhere doesn't mean it doesn't.
You showed us a clip, some British billionaire who's a friend of Putin, Bernie Ecclestone.
Oh, Ecclestone, yeah.
Who was like, yeah, well, the States did it. Well, no, okay, so that was bad, too.
Yeah.
Do you see how that's bad, too? So Russia invades Ukraine. They have all these sanctions placed on them. And now they don't even have the veil of having a civil or cordial relationship with the rest of the world. They'll just arrest whoever they want.
Yep. According to Flyers reporter Sam Carchidi, as of 18 minutes ago.
So that's new.
Fedotov has been sent to the Arctic, and he is being placed in the Russian Navy.
Wow.
And he's just gonna do what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he has no military experience. He's 6'6". Can't imagine the Navy's the best place for a guy who's 6'6", tight quarters. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. It's
just a horrible situation.
And it's I don't know, it could be a double-edged sword. Like, it could, on one hand, scare professional athletes from trying to leave Russia. And on the other hand, this is a fairly high-profile thing. And people look up to professional athletes. Mm-hmm. CSKA Moscow is an extraordinarily popular team. This guy was the goalie for the Russian Olympic team, and that's what I'm going to call it, and not the ridiculous Olympic athletes from Russia.
Yeah.
Nonsense. This is a high-profile person, and I can't imagine there's a ton of people who, at least privately in their own homes, are like, good. I'm glad he was arrested. And if you're the Flyers, like, or any NHL team, if you have any players, like, not even just Russians, any player, that you have to tell them, please don't go.
Mm-hmm. Well, so let me talk about that. Let me talk about that because coinciding with this, I believe they both came out on the same day, so I don't believe it's linked. But the Athletics, Michael Russo and Dan Robson, who are fantastic writers, put together a comprehensive list around the NHL about how teams are dealing with just that. Teams that have asked players to stay home. So it starts like this. Let me get into this. Before Kirill Kaprizov returned to Russia this offseason, Bill Guerin asked his Minnesota Wild star if he'd consider remaining in the United States or spending his offseason somewhere other than his own country. Maybe on Fisher Island in Miami, where he stayed for a few weeks before signing his 5-year, $45 million contract last fall. Maybe even in Norway with his mentor and Wild teammate Mats Zuccarello. Brian McClellan, the Washington Capitals general manager, planned to have the same conversation with Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, and his other Russian players. In fact, one prominent agent who represents a number of Russian players suggested to his clients that they not return home. So, and Guerin goes on, and you should read the whole thing because it's a long read. But Guerin goes on to, in his quote, say it's like what he wanted to go home because he hasn't seen his family or his brother in like his parents or his brother in over 2 years. He said the article goes on to say the only thing the NHL did announce before Game 1 of the Stanley Cup final was that Russian players who won the Stanley Cup would not be allowed to celebrate in Russia with the cup, at least for this summer. That affects Valery Nichushkin, and that was just the only player that it affected on this one. The league says it doesn't think it's appropriate for the cup to be traveling to Russia at the current time. It would be difficult for the cup to be taken to Russia. The US and Canada and most European countries have banned flights in and out of Russia. So you'd actually have to fly through Dubai, Turkey, or Croatia to get home. Trying to navigate those travel restrictions with the puck or with the cup would be problematic. And here's the other issue. And they get into the specifics on this: visas. So a lot of players this year were playing with no visa at all. There's like an A-level visa and a B-level visa. And obviously the governments are saying, we're not issuing visas to Russian nationals to come over here and work. And Putin had some pretty, some chilling comments about Russian nationals making their money and living and working in the West. Now, it's assumed that he didn't mean hockey players. He was probably talking more about oligarchs, like Abramovich, who owned Chelsea up until recently.
Right.
But he said he called them scum. And for him to say something like that's a strong word for a world, like it or not, he's a leader of a powerful country in this world, right? Strong wording from him. And it's said to have sent a chill through everybody in the National Hockey League associated with it. There's like an A-level visa and a B-level visa. And without getting too complex, some Russian players this year did not have either. So the question also becomes, okay, so they're coming back from Russia. Okay, let's say they can get here. They can get here by the flights. Let's say the Russian government lets them out. Then you've got a logjam of visas that have to be processed with the American government and the Canadian government. Because as we know, especially in Canada, if you're trying to get your passport renewed right now, you have to line up for 7 or 8 hours to get your passport renewed in Canada right now. It's so bad.
It's really bad.
And so, people have been laid off and there's not enough staff trained and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So long story short, this is a potential mess. I wouldn't say it's a mess yet, but it's something to keep an eye on if you're a fan of hockey and if you're a fan of humans. I think it's one of those where, obviously, if they come to North America, the chances of them not being allowed to take the ice because they don't have the proper visa work, I think are pretty slim to none, and I think we can acknowledge that, right? We know that the governments are going to be like, yeah, give them a pass, we get it. But a lot of those guys went back.
We're going to hear stories at some point in the near future of an NHL team or teams who have all Russians in this draft on their DND list, on their do not draft list. Mm-hmm. Not because they're anti-Russia, but because they don't know.
Well, and your
the player's future.
Those picks are worth a lot. They're worth millions of dollars. And are you going to draft somebody who you may not have access to ever? You may never get access to them while they're within their playing window. Most guys come into the league and they maybe is the average 200 games?
Oh, I think it's a lot less than that. 200 is like when you get your NHL pension.
So maybe the average is 50.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're talking about putting serious assets behind something. It's like their window to play their best years. Who knows what's going to happen? So I think you're right, Stephen. And by the way, the NHL has for its part said, listen, we understand that this is a political thing and it's not a player thing. So they want Russian athletes to feel comfortable playing in the NHL. They're not going to do anything to make them feel uncomfortable, obviously. This more has, what control would any of them have? And again, I go back to, you expect these guys to say anything. Look at what happened to Artemi Panarin over one post. Yeah. He made one post and had to leave the Rangers and go back to Russia and sort out shit because somebody accused him of, I don't know, some former Morozov, I think, is like a former Penguin or something, accused him of something terrible.
Former coach.
Yeah, just it's a It's a disaster.
These players, even the wealthy ones, do not have agency. They don't have the same agency as you.
Yeah.
Hey, don't ask a hockey player to end an invasion of another country.
And what say you, hockey player?
Yeah. Like, I'd love
You've everything to lose and nothing to gain.
Right. I'd love to believe that Ovechkin saying something would work.
It wouldn't help.
I would love to believe that. I think you're thinking with a North American mindset, and you don't get it. That's not a criticism. It's a fact. You're trying to, you don't have a concept.
Right.
You don't have a concept.
And with that, another hard right-hand turn, but this is the way it's going these days.
There's nothing we can do.
We're going into You Can Bet That. As always, we ask if you're going to be doing this, obviously check out the description. It has responsible gaming tips. We ask 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Let's get into it. You can sign up at sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. It's You Can Bet That. He is David Bastel. And Dave, I know we got to talk about CFL, and I know specifically you want to talk about the Blue Bombers and the odds or whatever. But let's first get your. I want your take on Rick Bowness. Officially confirmed with the Winnipeg Jets. Are you yay or are you nay?
You know what? I'm yay. I never saw this guy on our board just because. Why am I saying our? I don't work for the organization. Damn it! I didn't see. Trust me, it's a pet peeve sometimes. And here I am saying it to you. I didn't see him on the board for the Jets just because I thought he was retired. He's 69 years old. He's a really good guy. I've met him several times. Very chatty guy. Been around the league forever. He's a hockey lifer, the definition of hockey lifer. Now here's I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of let's just say hope from my end. It's a 2-year deal. It's substantial money for a head coach, but the 2 years is big to me because next year a certain coach might be making a decision whether or not he's going to return.
This guy will not let go, eh?
Steve, I won't. And I'll
James Reimer's coming back to the league.
Manitoba's own.
Yeah, Morita.
Okay, so Winnipeg and Toronto playing each other tonight. CFL Monday Night Football. What do we have, David, on the odds? To be honest with you, I have not seen a game yet this year, so I have no idea.
Ooh.
I know.
This is actually, you know what? Honestly, this is actually a pretty good matchup. I really like the scheduling by the CFL, and it has everything to do with no field for BMO on the weekend. So it was kind of a fluke, but these are the two top teams at the beginning of the season that are supposed to meet in the Grey Cup. So it's a Monday night game. Bombers 5-point favorites. The Bombers do not play well in Toronto based on history. They're 0-2 in their last 2 games as well. Against the number 2, I'm actually betting the Argos plus the points. I like this spot here just because of what they have to offer. And you know what? The Bombers are kind of due for a loss considering that they've kind of had some hiccups along the way, even though they are perfect this year.
I see.
That's just the fanship. That's the fandom jinx.
Yes.
Yeah, no. I see this reverse psychology stuff you're trying to put on the Argos.
Yeah, if you bet against your team, then you win either way.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. We've only known each other well for a couple months, but you guys are starting to... you're starting to read me like a book.
Figuring you out. There you go. Also, the Jays' only regularly good and healthy pitcher, Alec Manoah, taking the mound tonight. The Jays are actually favored after the terrible 3 games in 2 days that they just had against Tampa. What do you like here?
You know what? I'm not sure what I like. This game is probably a pass for me. The Jays will travel, of course, last night into California. They are playing Cole Irvin, which he hasn't played well this year. I mean, recently he's played okay, but Alec Manoah seems to be that stopgap guy for the Jays. Right now at Sports Interaction, he's number 3 on the Cy Young Award odds list. So I actually like the Jays in this spot, but this is a stay away just because it's a fish spot for me. If you're looking for value, the value is on the Oakland A's. You can get them at about a 318 right now at Sports Interaction. 3 times your money for a single season baseball game. Really good odds, but keep away from me, guys. I'm watching football tonight.
That's right. And he's watching them win and or lose, and he'll be right because he's Dave Bastel. SportsInteraction.com/SDPN. Dave, thank you so much as always.
Be well. Be well.
You've heard us talk about BetterHelp, and it's just an important reminder that you have to take care of yourself the way you take care of your car with regular oil changes, or the way you take care of your body with regular checkups at the doctor, or, I don't know, working out, which, Steve, you've turned your whole garage into a workout center for Steve.
Yeah, look at me.
But what if I want a workout center for my mind, Adam?
This is why BetterHelp's easy, okay? In all honesty, it's online therapy, video, phone, or even live chat therapy sessions, whatever you're comfortable with. You don't have to be seen on camera if you don't want to be, and it's much more affordable than in-person therapy. You can match with a therapist in under 48 hours. And as a listener of this show, you get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.com/SDP. Again, that's BetterHelp.com/SDP. Get more ways to play on every sport. Baseball, golf, and Canadian football are still in full swing because it's the summertime, baby. So get involved. The action always starts at Sports Interaction. It's Canada's sportsbook. Bet on the game before it starts, live and play, or use one of the many prop bets that we always talk about on the show. Doing it right since 97, Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, easy to play, and cash out. Join now and see all that sports betting has to offer. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. It's 19 plus. Please play responsibly. I'm gonna put you in a hypothetical situation, okay? You're sitting on a deck. The sun is going down. It's over 25 degrees.
Whoa.
It's a summer night, and you don't have to work tomorrow. What goes best with that scenario?
I'll just go with something general, like a little vague. Sorry if this is vague, but Muskoka Breweries, tread lightly.
I think so too. Venture to a place where light beer makes no flavor sacrifice. That's what it says.
I had one yesterday.
Did you?
I did.
Did you find that the flavor was sacrificed?
No.
And it is a light beer. And it's only 110 calories per can, which is pretty great. And like all of their beer, Tread Lightly is proudly crafted in Muskoka with all natural ingredients. You can find it at the beer store, you can find it at the LCBO, and you can find it at your local grocery store. Check out muskokabrewery.com. Click on Tread Lightly. Ryan McDonagh traded to Nashville for Philippe Myers, depending upon whomst is saying the name.
It's spelled Philippe.
It is spelled Philippe, and I prefer Philippe. It sounds happier.
That's his name.
Yeah.
Philippe will probably be bought out by the Lightning, and it gives Tampa a cap credit because they'll be over. I believe that they are one of the teams, one of the 14 teams. 14 NHL teams have been dinged for overages officially. The NHL has reached out to them. The Lightning are absolutely one of them, and this is going to help them kind of alleviate some of the cap pressure. Obviously, with McDonagh's contract done, but also with the with the Myers buyout, it gives them something like, I don't know, $600,000-700,000 or something to work with this year.
There were reports from, I don't remember if it was Frege or Drager, that the Lightning actually don't intend on buying him out.
Is that right?
But I mean, teams can.
It's probably what they just say.
Me when I lie. Like it can be them bluffing.
Actually, it's interesting. Maybe they don't. So we got Vancouver is $1.25 million over, Montreal 1.1, St. Louis 1.1, Edmonton, Dallas, Florida, LA, Philly, Islanders, Chicago, Toronto, Carolina, Washington, Colorado. So no, they do not. Wow, I'm wrong. But whatever. The other day is, we know Tampa's tight against the cap. This gives them an opportunity. Maybe they're not going to buy him out, but maybe they could. And this is maybe that's what it is. It's the option.
He's a good player in need of a little bit of reclamation, perhaps a little bit overpaid. He actually ended this past season with the Toronto Marlies.
Yes, he did. He
as part of a sort of future considerations deal that they did with the Preds. And they've done this a couple times where the Leafs and Preds have exchanged like an NHL player for a guy on an AHL contract, where they were able to make an AHL trade and an NHL trade. And it's all very like piddly and minor.
I feel like we never find out about future considerations.
Because it's usually nothing.
You're not going to follow up on it.
Yeah, they never really come back around and are like, all right, we want a second.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, and this was part of the Eric Lindros trade tree, one of the things that Calgary got in exchange for Theoren Fleury when they traded him to the Colorado Avalanche was future considerations.
Oh.
The future considerations ended up being a first-round pick named Robin Regeer.
Wow. How did they get a first out of it?
It's Theoren freaking Fleury.
Yeah, but why was it delayed until futures?
Because I think the reason for that, I don't know this is just my theory, is these days we're obsessed with conditional draft picks. I think back then that wasn't really a thing, so they just called it future considerations.
Right. But it was kind of like, if this happens,
he also could have been injured, and you can't trade injured players. Maybe it was that.
No, he was extremely good for
Not Theoren Fleury. Robin Regehr could have been injured.
Oh,
maybe he had like an injury or something, and you can't trade guys on the injured list. You never know.
I don't know. It's just
possible.
one of the only times I remember future considerations actually being a thing.
I'm just looking up here at Philippe Meyer's buyout implications. So Puckpedia's got the buyout calculator. This coming season, it would give you a cap savings of $616,000, but then the following year you would have a penalty of $633,000. And I wonder if Philippe Myers could be a thing where they turn around and trade him to another team too. Like there could be other teams. I just gave you 14 teams that could use some cap relief. With a buyout like this, maybe that helps.
Well, when the Leafs got him for the Marlies, that's what I thought they were trying to do.
Right.
Like, I thought they were introducing him to the organization because if Tampa were to buy him out, then he would be a free agent as well. So Tampa would get the benefit of the buyout savings, and then he'd be free to sign with whatever team he wants, and that team could be Toronto.
So if he went to the Marlies, right?
Yes.
And then he went back to the Preds.
So here, do you have it?
No, he was loaned. They don't have the loan transaction on Cap Friendly. Like it wasn't.
Yeah, you can
not filed.
Toronto's had a few people loaned. They are one of the teams that uses the loans the most.
Well, and they also use this buyout. They did it with Jared Cowan.
Right.
Remember that they acquired him. He thought he was going to be a Leaf, supposedly. They were dinged 1 year. They bought him out, and they got relief the next. I'm trying to remember the name of the player they did this with. They also traded Matt Fratton to the Sens, and the Sens were like, but no, keep him. So
I remember that was in
16?
Yeah. And I remember that one.
So what happened there was basically if the Sens wanted to call him up, they could.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, no, stay in Toronto with the Marlies. So he just continued playing.
But he was property of the Sens, yeah.
Yeah, I want to say he was still part of that 2016 team that went to the conference final in the A. They were a good team. Adam, what's on your phone?
No, I was looking up something.
I just keep thinking there's going to be a trade.
No, nothing. I keep thinking about, so we're focused on Philippe Myers right now, which is hilarious.
Sorry.
It's a fun little...
It is a fun little thing.
Tidbit that the NHL, because the NHL's got so many stupid rules.
It does. We could simplify this, but why?
Why is that a thing?
Well,
right.
Why do you get cap relief for buying someone out? That flies directly in the face of the hard cap. The whole point is to stop teams from spending. This is incentivizing spending.
I think there needs to be an emphasis on how goofy this is.
It is goofy.
That Julien Brisebois has his staff, his Brandon Pridham equivalent, looking into this, and they're like, okay, if we get this guy and then we send McDonagh, we're going to get a credit. And like, that shouldn't be how the cap works.
Yeah. And the Leafs blogs, give them credit, like Leafs Nation stuff, they were all over this. Like, they were all over the Philippe Myers thing for a while. Like, the Leafs should do this. The Leafs should do this. Now, I want to say this. Ryan McDonagh was an absolute warrior for the Lightning for a long, long time.
Yep.
Long time. I think he was part of the St. Louis deal, was he not?
Scott Gomez.
That was Scott Gomez.
Oh, wait, no, sorry.
That was between New York and Montreal, but I think McDonagh is what went the other way in the St. Louis deal.
I honestly don't remember.
No.
Was it a first round pick? Who went the other way?
I think Jesse has
So
it.
the Montreal Canadiens.
I'm not talking about Montreal. I'm talking about New York, Tampa.
I was going to do his whole trade history.
Okay, all right.
So the Montreal Canadiens traded Scott Gomez, Tom Pyatt, and Michael Busto to the Rangers. They acquired those players from the Rangers in exchange for Ryan McDonagh, Chris Higgins, Doug Yannick, and Pavel Velatenko. And then the Rangers traded Ryan McDonagh and JT Miller in exchange for Vlad Domestikov, Brait Howden, Libor Hayek, a first, a second, and then there were some conditions on the second round pick. Yeah, there you go.
And that was
massive trade. Wow.
Well, and it was integral to Tampa winning their back-to-back cups because they kept McDonagh. They were able to trade Miller for that Vancouver first, and I believe like a bunch of those prospects listed there, at least one of them was used in loading up for 2020 and 2021.
So it was Ryan Callahan. That's who I got mixed up with Ryan McDonagh. Ryan Callahan, who was also a good player for the Lightning for a while.
That was a weird deal.
For the St. Louis Blues. Yeah, when St. Louis got mad at Yzerman and said, I'm out of here.
That was a long time ago.
I still think that was a pissy move. But that's just, I said it at the time. I still think it's pissy. But regardless of that.
He was left off the Olympic team after leading the league in scoring.
And that's your GM who's in charge of picking the team.
Yeah, I get it.
Pissy.
Anyway,
Ryan McDonagh. He's been a very, very good player for Tampa for a long, long time. One of the unsung heroes because the team is loaded with superstars. But man, what do we always say about cup-winning teams? Even though they didn't win the cup this year, they still won 2 in a row. What do we always say?
Why does someone keep letting them off the hook?
Stop helping them. Dom Lucian, Ryan McDonagh has been excellent defensively for Tampa Bay, but at age 33, 4 years remaining on his deal, things are looking dicey. He said the Lightning get out of this deal just in time. And I forgot that there are 4 more years left on this deal, paying him $6.8 million a season.
This deal is why the hard cap sucks. So forget the fact that one of the best teams in the league has to deal one of their integral pieces to continue being competitive. We're all looking at Ryan McDonagh get traded for Philippe Myers, who may or may not, like, we're cheering for whether or not he's going to get bought out.
It makes the trade suck. Like, trades are exciting in other leagues, right?
And a guy named Grant Mismash, I don't know.
Made up name.
Who that is.
Yeah.
And we're looking at that deal of Ryan McDonagh essentially being traded for 2 randoms. And we're like, Tampa did it again.
That was a great move.
Great move. It's stupid that it's a great move.
It's a boring ass thing.
They gave away this player because they don't have room for him, and they have Sergachev, who's just going to step in and be fine.
No, I know, but it's stupid that Tampa is trading away the far and away better player in the trade, and we're like, brilliant move for Tampa.
But it would be nice. What Steve is saying is it'd be nice to trade talent for talent.
Yes.
Or talent for huge amounts of draft picks.
No,
like you see in the NBA and NFL.
The contract's too much, you know?
Yeah, because the hard cap and it doesn't go up. Also,
I'm wondering what Nashville's thinking on the other side in that.
Holy shit, we got Ryan McDonagh.
But they also is Roman Josi going to continue to miss time?
Well, that could be the case, but also
they've always been proponents of big time defense.
Yeah.
That too.
Those teams are always built around their top 4.
It's a copycat league.
Yeah.
It's a copycat league, and I think more and more teams, and the Preds would be justified in doing this, more and more teams are looking at the NHL season before Christmas and going, who cares? Who cares? If you're back by Christmas, fine. If you're back by the trade deadline, whatever, I don't care. Are you going to be back by April? Nashville didn't lose anybody, right? They didn't lose anybody. They didn't get worse. Like, let's say McDonagh were to be injured, right? They still didn't get worse. They traded away 2 guys they weren't using.
It's essentially a free agent signing of Ryan McDonagh for 4 years for $6.75 million.
Kinda.
I probably wouldn't. Is that what he's worth? Would you get if
on the open market?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, but if you're Nashville, is that where you're going after when you already have 2 defensemen who are probably your, like, I don't know, top 4 defensemen who are already 32 and 33 in
I get
Josi and Matthias Ekholm?
I get what you're saying. Because like in a few years it's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
Right?
The 3 of them.
In a few years it could be really bad. However, Nashville wants to win a cup next year. And 4 years from now sounds like 4 years from now's problem. Mark Bergevin, when he signed Josh Anderson, we all looked at that and went, holy shit, 7 years? That's a nightmare. Mm-hmm. And he's going to be
someone else's nightmare.
But then they went to the cup final in the first year.
Yeah.
Right? Like, no, someone else will figure it out.
And Kent Hughes will have to do that.
There was a game in the conference final where Montreal won 2-1 and he scored both goals. You know what I mean? Like, do you think Bergevin regrets that at all? And now he's not even there. Yeah. So he doesn't give a shit. Like, how long does David Poile have left in this league? He's got to be one of the oldest GMs.
Yeah. Yeah. One more time.
I just think like God willing, we're sitting here in 2025 still doing this podcast, and it's September of 2025. We're going to be looking at the Nashville Predators roster, and we're going to say, oh, they have Roman Josi for $9 million. They have Ryan McDonagh for $6 million, and they have Matthias Ekholm for $6.2 million.
Oh, and
going into that
look at
season,
their forwards. Who else will they have?
The Matt Duchene contract will still have one more year at $8 million.
Wow.
Ryan Johansson will be expired. Granlund will be expired. So that's okay.
All
the
right,
forward group
right.
will need a refresh, but those three on defense will all still be there in 2025. But
I just think
as
it's a
you
shame.
said, it's a great argument that who cares?
Yeah.
Let's try and win.
It's a shame that a player who is still a good player, he's still an effective player, and he's been to the Stanley Cup final 4 times. We're looking at that and going, I don't know what Nashville's thinking. That doesn't it's just so counterintuitive to sports.
Mm-hmm.
Like, listen, Nashville didn't do very well in the playoffs this year, and we all know why. They played the team that ended up winning the Stanley Cup and got run the fuck over with no goalie.
The goalie. That's why.
The answer was not Connor Ingram, apparently.
Yeah, apparently not.
They had probably the third best goalie in the whole league. If you throw...
Yeah.
Oh, Saros?
Yeah,
I was
UC
like, Ingram. Okay.
I thought Igor's UC Saros is probably third best goalie last season, and he didn't get to play. Mm-hmm. It's a fucking shame. Who knows what they could have been?
Would they have beaten Colorado? I don't know. But
probably not,
we look at Connor Ingram and we're like, wow, he almost won a game. Like, that's how good Colorado was. No, look. The West is really getting interesting because there's this couple teams that got knocked out in the first round that have gotten a lot better.
LA and Nashville
have gotten a lot better.
The West last year was so much worse than the East that I think a lot of the West teams are like, all right, let's try and load up and take advantage of this weak bottom half.
Pacific Division was booty.
Yeah.
I know Edmonton made it to the Final Four. That division was booty.
And so were the Oilers when they faced someone outside of their division.
Same result as Nashville.
The Lightning, on that topic, like Nick Paul a lot. 7 years a lot. He's going to be making, it's a 7-year, $24 million contract. Basically, he's making 3.15 per. And really, I mean, the guy, it's interesting. He played 25 games in the regular season for the Lightning, but then played 26 for them in the playoffs because they're the Lightning.
Yes.
He ranked
23.
third in the NHL for penalties drawn during the Stanley Cup, during his run of the Stanley Cup final. He also scored his first 2 playoff career goals. When, Steve?
Game 7 against Toronto in a 2-1 victory.
That's crazy. Jesse and I were actually there. The second was the series winner. He was a heck of a player for them, and it's so funny, eh?
Him and Brandon Hagel drew a shitload of penalties.
If that contract had been offered by Ottawa, I don't know that he signs it. But I think he probably looks at the Lightning organization and goes, I'll do this.
I think Bruce Garriock said it was around 2.6.
Is that what
he was offered? Well, and his number probably went up.
That's a closable gap. Yeah, his number probably did go up, but that's a closable gap.
It's a closable gap, but when you think about it, 2.6 versus 3.15, it's a big gap, right? If we're talking about a $10 million player versus 10.6 or something, it's not quite.
But I also think he looks at the organization and goes, this is where the future is.
100%. Now, how many million did he get?
3.15.
Times 7?
7.
So how many million is that?
I don't know. It's about 24.
So he's over $20 million. How many career goals does he have?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a really good question.
Nick Paul, regular season goals.
How many regular season goals
does Nick Paul have?
Nick Paul have? Nick Paul, by the
18.
way, everyone keeps tweeting me at this, or tweeting this at me. Whoops. That he was part of the Jason Spezza trade tree. Stop being so horny for trade trees. It's not time for that yet. I'm going to do it.
18.
You say 18, Adam?
Ooh.
Over $20 million.
I'm going to say 30 goals.
Adam is closer. In 248 career NHL games, he has 34 goals.
So he has a goal roughly every 10 games?
80 points.
Wow. That is an interesting deal.
He has 8 more career points. Oh, yeah, I looked this up the other day. He has 8 more career points than Ilya Mikheyev, and Mikheyev has played something like 90 fewer games. 80 or 90 fewer games.
Who was the long-term deal that Dean Lombardi, and I know you're going to say, hold on, that was everyone. Who did Dean Lombardi give a long-term deal to who got like $1.8 million a year for 7 years? That wasn't Kyle Clifford, was it? It was somebody,
no.
Was it Knight, or there was, I think he ended up in Montreal later on in his career.
I'm not sure.
There was a Kings player that had like a really long-term deal.
Maybe it was Clifford. Oh, Yeah, there were a few guys.
Like a depth player, and I'm going to just look at Kyle Clifford.
I want to say, tough guy. He grew up in Pickering. For God's sake. I forget his name.
Clifford did have a long-term deal, a 5-year, $8 million contract.
Andy Andrioff?
No, I don't think it was.
I can't remember.
I thought Dwight King. No, Dwight King. Is that a name? Dwight.
He got. Yeah, I remember him getting a longer deal too. I mean, that happens after you win a cup.
Jack Johnson.
I don't know. Let's stop this.
Yeah. Let's find out.
Gotta be
what
torture.
guy from 2013 got a long-term deal?
If this adds anything.
I don't know if this is worse for people who do know the answer or don't.
Anyway,
Nick Paul proved that he can play in the most important part of the season. I understand this contract. Like you're paying for guys who can win you a Stanley Cup. Nick Paul has proved that he can win a team a Stanley Cup.
To be clear, I'm not shitting on the deal.
No,
but there's nothing wrong with it.
He's 27, 7 years, 80 career points, over $20 million.
Mm-hmm.
One good playoff run. Literally, he had a good world championship with Canada. He was solid for a really bad team in the regular season, and he had a good playoff with Tampa. Life-changing generational wealth.
I look at it like the Philip Deneau deal, where it's like, okay, he's not a goal scorer, so you're like, oh, how does this all make sense? But he's going to help you get to a Stanley Cup final.
He's going to let your goal scorers be goal scorers.
Yeah.
Durable.
Deneau does that.
I couldn't believe he was still chugging.
Let me throw this at you. This is, I love this, by the way. And I'm moving on here from Nick Paul, because we've spent entirely too much time, and the Lightning entirely too much money on the subject.
We spent more time on Philippe Myers.
Jesse, can you bring up what I just texted to you? Because Brock Besser signed an extension.
Yes.
3 years, $6.65 million. He had a qualifying offer in front of him for 7.5, because that was his QO.
But that would have been 1 year.
Yes, yeah. and obviously they don't want that. But I thought it was really funny that he posted this to his Instagram. Jesse, can you bring up the first of that slide?
Oh, I seen this.
Did you see this?
Yeah.
Where he posted about being excited to be back in Vancouver, and there's a picture of him scoring a goal against the LA Kings.
Yeah.
And if you look at who's tagged in it in the second, it's Canucks, Pettersson, and Cal Peterson, the guy he scored on.
Tagged the goalie.
He tagged Cal Peterson, and then Cal Peterson responded, "Are you kidding me with this?" And then Will Borgen from Seattle said, "Well, you shouldn't have been standing there."
I want to say they're all team or like U.S. program teammates.
Yes.
Will Borgen, I believe, is American. I know Besser is. I didn't know Cal Peterson was. That's expert level trolling on a day where I'm sure he was feeling pretty good about signing a very lucrative deal.
I thought that was just very funny.
Again, roughly $20 million.
Yeah, and I hope he comes back from the potential that he had a couple of years ago when Vancouver fans were literally comparing him to Austin Matthews. Do you remember that? That was a thing. But then he had a back injury and some other things. And he had 46 points last year, respectable numbers, but I think they're throwing him a bone like, all right, Brock, we know what you can do if he stays healthy.
Oh, this has a chance to be an extremely good deal.
Could be one of the best value deals if he's healthy.
The odds of it being a bad deal, I think, are pretty slim. Because let's say he does get injured a bunch. Mm-hmm. LTIR for the Canucks. It's not ideal, but it's a thing they can do.
And they can afford it.
Let's say he contributes the way he has been contributing. It's okay. It's not a boat anchor. It's okay. If he continues to progress, they're laughing. That's a good deal.
Cal Peterson, one of the few right-handed catching goalies in the NHL.
Oh,
is he?
Yeah. It's so weird to see that, isn't it?
It's upsetting.
He is one of the awkward ones.
Yeah.
Hey, are you a goalie out there who catches right-handed? Stop! Stop it! It's gross.
You can never make it to the NHL.
Yeah, unless you're Cal Peterson or Pavel Francouz.
By the way,
or Michael Hutchinson.
We're going to do more Leaf stuff tomorrow because I expect more to happen. But it was just reported over the course of the podcast that Dan Milstein expects Ilya Mikheyev to get somewhere in the neighborhood of $4.7 to $5.3 million on a multi-year contract. That's per year. And Jeff O'Neill responded to that tweet and said, "Is he better than Nick Paul?" And
Nick Paul's a center.
Paul's a center, but that seems pretty darn expensive for a guy who just literally discovered his scoring touch.
So this is the interesting thing. And I sent a tweet that I think people misinterpreted. I was talking about Jesse Puljujarvi is getting traded out of Edmonton because he can't bury shots. Meanwhile, someone's going to offer Ilya Mikheyev like $20 million. And that wasn't a shot at Ilya Mikheyev. It was praise for Jesse Puljujarvi because like what you have with, we always knew we had a good player with Mikheyev. We did.
Yeah.
We didn't think he could bury the puck. We thought he had a little bit of Michael Grabner syndrome. But we knew we had a good player. He was a useful player. The Oilers have a good player with Jesse Puljujarvi. They do. He gets chances. Generally speaking, his team has the puck more often than the other team when he's on the ice and relative to his teammates. Snake bitten as hell.
Yes.
If you think that is going to remain the same forever, by all means, trade him. But this guy is younger than, I think he's still younger than Mikheyev was when he joined the Leafs. And Mikheyev, after scoring at -5%.
He did have a devastating wrist injury. We should say that.
He did have a devastating wrist injury, and people forget how good he was before that.
He was very good.
He really started to heat up. I think he got a goal in the same game where he got his wrist slashed, and then he wasn't able to continue. And it took him a long time to recover. His legs were always there, but the second the puck hit his stick, it died. It died a cruel
Stone
and
hands.
unusual death. Last year, he scored over 20 goals. And because he missed time, I think he scored at over a 30-goal pace.
Whew.
He had like a 32-goal pace. So defensive player, he can be a catalyst on your penalty kill and a threat on your penalty kill. Could potentially score at a 30-goal pace. Smart defensively, like shit. Yeah, someone's going to give. Someone is a bunch of teams in the NHL are looking at Ilya Mikheyev right now, and they're going, "That's the next Valerie Nichushkin."
Interesting.
He's going to be our Valerie Nichushkin.
Well, I hope they understand that he scores goals one way, which is grabbing the puck, driving the net, and cutting across. That is how he scores. That's the only way he scores.
It should be. And he was learning how to bang it in as well. And that's how you score in the playoffs. Let me offer
misses
this.
A lot of rebounds.
Let me offer this as a Leafs fan. When has he ever scored in the playoffs? Like I think of two of the Leafs' most important games over the last 2 years. Game 6 against Montreal in overtime, and Game 6 against Tampa in overtime. In both those overtimes, Ilya Mikheyev had the Leafs' best chances to end it. Didn't. And go look at his production from those playoffs.
Well, he's a league minimum guy then.
Well,
no, he solves a lot. He checks a lot of boxes for a lot of teams.
If you have the cap space, absolutely go for it.
I feel like Jersey's just going to fire.
Most teams don't.
Yeah, New Jersey, by the way, is in on everybody.
Oh,
Kadri, Gaudreau, Mikheyev. They're talking Campbell. Like they're firing the money cannon this summer. I'm excited to see what they do.
This is this year is an opportunity for the have-nots to catch up with the haves because all the teams that were going for it don't have any bloody cap space. And if you have some cap space and also the money, which hopefully you would, you're a professional sports team and the cap hasn't gone anywhere for 3 years.
Sorry, Arizona.
Yeah, except for them. If you have the money, you should be able to be very competitive over the next 2 weeks.
Yep. And the Leafs do not.
Malkin to the New Jersey Devils?
Yeah, maybe.
Why not?
maybe.
Might look good.
Maybe they'll make it this year.
It's right over there, a couple states over, you know.
I mean, the Devils are kind of primed for one of those seasons and have been for like 5 years. But if they get any modicum of health and they add to the roster in a significant way, they could be one of those teams that surprise, but I don't know. At what point do you stop believing? Is now the time to punch out on the Devils?
Eventually you're going to be right.
Yeah, like I don't think now is the time to punch out on them, but
it's like the Colorado thing, you know? It's not quite that at all. It's just every year everyone's like, this could be Colorado's year. You know, eventually if you say it enough times that this will be New Jersey's year, that they're a competitive team, you're going to be right eventually.
Yeah, we forget, like, you look at, I fooled myself just now into looking at the Devils and going, well, you know, it reminds me a little bit of the 16-17 Avs, but like who is there? Cale Makar. All your answers are wrong, by the way. all the answers that you came up with. Oh, well, no, none of them are Cale Makar. There's one Cale Makar. One. Mm-hmm. He's on the Avs right now. It's kind of a big part of the team.
Yeah. Bob Boughner was randomly fired at the start of the weekend. And a lot of people were like, that's weird and that's late. So we finally have a couple articles on it. And it reminded me a little bit about, I remember when the Leafs fired Dave Poulin and Claude Lozelle in like August. And I remember Darren Dreger talking about it and saying, like, this is super weird because now they have no opportunity to get a job. The carousel has ended, right? What's that?
It's happened to another coach recently, too. I'm trying to remember who. It doesn't pass the smell test at all.
So here's what they had to say, and I'll tell you what I think afterwards. But I believe the GM is Jim Will.
Interim
GM. Yeah, they don't have a GM.
He said, basically said, up until yesterday, they were our coaching staff because 2 assistants were let go as well, John Madden and John McLean.
And it's Joe Will.
Joe Will, excuse me. Yes. But also, GM Will. Iron Will. They should make him the GM. McLean and Madden were let go. Both, I think, former NHL players, but Nabokov, who's their other coach, is staying. He's their goalie coach.
Oh, their video coach as well.
Video coach is gone too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a large reason a lot of the hockey community is pissed about this firing because they fired not just the head coach, but the assistants and like the staff, the video coach, and they didn't give them an opportunity to go get one of these many jobs that are around the National Hockey League.
So let me jump in here. Mm-hmm. This is what GM Iron Will had to say. We worked up until yesterday. They were our coaching staff. We worked hard. We played young players. There were a lot of things that they could hang their hat on. But as we got further into this review, we came to the conclusion that amongst everything else, we just wanted a fresh start moving forward with the GM and a head coach. That will also create the opportunity for the GM to find their head coach and partner up with them. Now, here's what it sounds like to me. And I'll continue on with this article from The Athletic. I want to shout out the writer here, too, because I always want to do that. The writer is Corey Masisik. Sorry, I don't know if I didn't pronounce it right.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about, but you said it so wrong that I don't like even...
Masiak?
Isn't it Masiak?
Masiak.
Jesus.
Hey, listen, I'm not here because I can pronounce names properly.
Yeah, Corey Masisik, and I'm like...
Masiak.
Masiak?
Okay, well, I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, here's what I think.
I might be wrong, too.
It sounds to me like... Do you remember when Shanny took over in Toronto?
Yes.
And everybody's like, well, you got to fire Randy. Randy's freaking terrible. This is not working, whatever. And he goes, here's one more year, Randy. And everybody's like, what the fuck? Because sometimes when you have a new guy take over, they're like, just freeze, everybody hold. I want to evaluate where our actual problems are, not where our fans or the players or so-and-so in the organization thinks the problems are. I need to see it myself. And it sounds to me like these guys did not want to give the new GM a chance to do that. They were like, no, because sometimes a general manager does that. They'll come in and they'll go, we're going to leave the coaching staff the way it is. And then, 40 games in, they probably let them go. But that's usually sort of how it goes.
Well, and like they're also probably bringing in a general manager with next to no experience. Scott Mellenby's been rumored. I want to say he was AGM.
Mellenby, Mike Greer.
Mike Greer, I don't know what
Whitney.
Experience he has. And Ray Whitney, I don't know what experience he has. Because the San Jose Sharks, I think it was according to Frege, are hell-bent on getting a former player as their GM. Because supposedly their staff doesn't have any former NHL players.
Except for Nabokov.
Their goalie coach. But again, this is another example of hockey teams going, yeah, well, that's the goalie.
What about somebody who's qualified?
Well...
I'm not saying those guys aren't, but let me just one quick thing here. Boughner took over for DeBoer as the interim coach in the final 37 games of the pandemic season. Then they missed the 2014 postseason that summer, and then they finished in the bottom 7 teams of the league in 2021, right? Like last year. Mm-hmm. And then this was his first and only full season with the complete training camp and preseason.
Doug Wilson stepped down from GM of the San Jose Sharks on April 7th.
Right.
After that, they started their search committee and they've been looking for a new GM. Between April and July, you couldn't make this decision?
This falls under what do you do all day?
What is your job, Mr. Joe Will, and the search committee is to do this.
I'm sorry, it's not excusable.
No, I don't care if you don't want the next GM to make that decision. Make this decision earlier.
It goes back to the conversation we had earlier about like how does your pick come up and you don't know which goalie you want?
Yeah.
How does it take you? What is that? 3 months?
April to July.
3 months. What did you go through?
What was
your evaluation process?
So I assume they've been talking to all their candidates and everything. And so maybe some of the candidates were like, okay, we were going to let go of the coach anyways. We have our own staff that we want to bring in. Earlier on in the process, you have to make this decision.
Yes.
Well, they said they wanted to. They sort of framed it like they wanted to talk to the new candidates and see if any of them wanted to keep this. That's sort of the vibe I was getting from some of these quotes, which is interesting.
Get an answer sooner.
But my thinking is like, if you don't want it, you don't want it. And I wonder if some of them said, oh yeah, I would like to interview him and talk to him and whatever. And they're looking at the coaching carousel and the talent available and they're seeing it dwindle. They're like, we don't want Boughner back. Just say you don't want him back. Get it done.
Yeah, and the all the coaches that were available like 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
And now all the top names are they're filling the spots.
What you're saying to prospective free agents is we don't value people. And you're expendable and we'll trade you at a moment's notice, whether you sign a long commitment with us or not.
Mm-hmm.
I think it looks really bad on the Sharks.
I don't understand what took them so long.
They'll always have the fact that they're in California going for them. You know, like people will want to sign in San Jose, but you have to think about this. I'm sorry. And like Bob Boughner, you know, this is kind of key. He was a really well-respected coach in Windsor. And a lot of the players that he coached to a Memorial Cup winning team ended up in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
And guys with opinions that people respect. Ryan Ellis is a name that I remember from that team. Taylor Hall was on that team. Zach Cassian was on one of those teams. Greg Nemes, Adam Henrique, I believe, was on those teams. Yeah, lots of NHLers, and there've got to be group chats going nuts today talking about how shit it was that they fired Boogie the way they did.
Yeah, this has got to be like coaches around the league cannot be happy with this because they're all a fraternity. They're a fraternity. Yeah, all these guys, they all know each other, and they're seeing what happened to their brethren. You know, they can't be pleased. And like, when does the interim GM get to fire head coaches, and not even just the head coach, all the staff?
Well, how about this?
Who's giving that
draft
thumbs up?
Thursday.
And you don't have a coach. You don't have a video coach. You don't got assistants.
So right now, the Sharks have like the 2015 situation of the Leafs. Because I looked this up yesterday for something we'll probably end up talking about on tomorrow's show. But the 2015 draft was split between Kyle Dubas and Dale Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
No, Mark Hunter, the other one. Kyle Dubas and Mark Hunter. Because Lou Lamoriello wasn't hired until July 23rd.
That's right.
That year. So they had their two interim GMs or assistant GMs or whatever you want to call them run the draft. Who the hell's running the draft for the Sharks?
Joe Will?
I guess.
Yeah,
I just got so many questions for how they're running this.
He says, Iron Will, GM Iron Will, has said that they may not have somebody named by Thursday.
Who's going to be at the table? They shouldn't have someone.
Well, like, and so this is interesting too. I want to throw this out at you. With these guys that they let go, Madden is being credited for helping that penalty kill become one of the best in the NHL.
There's another guy who played for a lot of teams, well respected.
McLean earned a lot of credit for for the career year that Timo Meier had.
I don't know enough about him.
And Darrow, this is interesting. The video coach they said he was a factor in the Sharks becoming one of the most successful teams in the league with coaches' challenges.
Interesting.
Wow. And man, if you're a team, like if you're an NHL team, Leafs are fucking terrible at coaches' challenges.
It's a game of very thin margins, and that's a big deal.
That matters.
It's like being a bad shootout team. You don't think it's important? It's extremely important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a lot of points on the table.
A lot of points on the table. If you're a shit shootout
look
team,
at the Florida Panthers. They won the President's Trophy because of all their shootout wins.
Yeah, no, it didn't end up helping in the end.
They
got a round out of it.
OT wins. Yeah. Okay, they win in OT.
It used to be a bigger factor because there used to be more shootouts.
Yeah.
But You know what I mean?
We are in the competition of the generic name off. We got 2 Johns, a Bob, a Dan, and a Joe.
All right.
That's this news story is just filled with them.
The Sharks love that. Well, and Doug Wilson.
Get all the Johns and the Bobs.
Doug Wilson.
And Doug.
And they got a lot of decisions to make. And it's wild because didn't Timo Meier just sign that very long extension?
Mm-hmm.
And now the guy who's being credited with his success was shit-canned? Yeah, that's a bit of a... Well, and like we know Brent Burns is fairly unhappy there.
Yeah.
We know Erik Karlsson is fairly unhappy.
Is Erik Karlsson, and I think this question needs to be asked, just fairly unhappy?
Maybe, well, he made the wrong choice. Let's call it what it is.
He should have been a Golden Knight, probably.
Well, like it's funny, earlier we were talking about Ryan McDonagh and the Preds acquiring him, and listen, we're trying to win this year. And we forget that early in Erik Karlsson's tenure in San Jose, they almost won.
They did.
They almost won. But
he had to look at their cap-friendly page. He has access to the internet, yes? And go, these guys are old.
No.
Yeah, but if you get one, it doesn't matter.
If you get one, it doesn't matter.
But he didn't.
It was, how many, 2 games close?
I think they lost to St. Louis in 6.
Listen, it's just
Right
tough to relate to that when they got close. And then this year he's like, I don't want to be on a rebuilding team. Well, it's too bad, man. You signed an $11.5 million per year contract, and you're not as good as you used to be.
Yeah. And and that's things beyond his control.
Right. And I know some of that probably was frustration. They did say that the Evander Kane situation had a huge effect on that dressing room. Huge. And by the way, Evander Kane, they're saying for sure they're going to handle it. The Sharks are like, yeah, we're going to handle this like it's a player arbitration case. That's their...
They're kind of a low-key mess.
The Sharks?
Yeah.
Oh, they're a disaster. But we've been saying this is coming for years.
But no, it's not even like beyond their cap situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like they fired their coaches late. They their cap situation is bad. They have this Evander Kane thing hanging over them.
By the way, Hurdle was the one that signed the extension. Meyer is 1 more year and then he's an RFA.
Oh, my bad. There, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And now and they don't have a GM heading into this draft. They're a mess.
They're a mess.
They're a mess.
But they could turn it around because it's the NHL and parity is king.
They could, but like...
I wonder how much this plays into Doug Wilson was there for 20 years. And they had 1 guy running the whole ship for 20 years, and now he's gone, and everything's like, oh, we have to find people to do things.
Yeah.
And they're making all these decisions that 1 guy would usually make.
It's like when Mr. Burns had to run the nuclear power plant by himself because all the workers striked. It's just him and Smithers running around and dancing, but they didn't run it well, if I recall.
I want to throw this out there. I'm looking at Brett Burns' cap-friendly page.
Mm-hmm.
The next couple of years, the next 3 years, he's got 3 more years on this deal. He's 37 now. Going to be 40 at the end of it. He will make $6.5 million in real money this year, 5 each of the next 2. So if he does get traded, he's got to go to a team that's got money, right? And a team that is in need of new leadership, that has sort of an expensive contract that they potentially will offload. I wondered, stupid. Doesn't make sense. This is super dumb.
Go ahead.
Super duper silly.
People are talking about trading Matt Murray for the 7th overall pick. Hit me with stupid.
Okay, I'm going to hit you with some stupid. What if there was a fit between Winnipeg and Blake Wheeler and Brent Burns and Winnipeg?
That's kind of interesting. That's
only because you're replacing. Both of them are gray beards. Like both of them are older guys.
Yeah.
Both are offensive dynamos. A little bit of a liability on defense.
Mm-hmm.
But both need a change of scenery. And there's big time leadership. The money's comparable, I think. Blake, based on my memory here,
is San Jose still trying to win?
I mean, it's a good question, Jesse.
What are they?
Well, I don't know.
Adam, I've heard dumber.
Okay, so here it is. The benefit for the Sharks is that they get a forward who can score more, and they get them at basically the same real dollars and the same cap hit.
They do need to replace Evander Kane, who, even though they didn't like him, was their top scorer.
Okay, and Blake Wheeler probably would be close to that. His cap hit is 8.25, but his real salary is 6.5, and then next year it's 8.25.
There's something there.
I don't know. Just a thought.
Story that I bet we hear at some point between now and Christmas might be casting too big of a net, but maybe September, is players who super don't want to, but super don't have the contractual leverage to stop it, getting traded to the Coyotes.
Oh.
Okay, I'm sorry. We can't. I'm bringing them up not to pick on them. They're an unprecedented team. We've never seen this shit before. We haven't. And they're going to be... There's no way they're anywhere near the floor right now. Surely. There's no way. They're going to be calling guys up from the A who would probably not get a chance otherwise. They gave Travis Boyd $2 million. They have every draft pick in the world. They're going to be trading for some guys. Like Nick Ritchie did not ask to get traded to the Coyotes, I'm pretty sure. They did ask to get traded, but probably not there.
If they were to stay the same right now, and by the way, they won't, but their projected cap hit is $49 million. Their deadline cap space would be $154 million.
Yeah, man.
They could take on $154 million in dead money at the deadline.
They're a fascinating team.
It's crazy. This is a very extreme version of what this deal was not supposed to be.
What if? And okay, remember what I've said a few times? I think they're going to challenge for a playoff spot.
You're right.
Just because they're so unique. Imagine if they do. Look at all those friggin' draft picks.
Yeah. And Clayton Keller skating again, which is good.
Yes. And if you get some goaltending, you get some, you get some teams coming in there, not taking it seriously.
Harry Sateri is a Vezina candidate.
You get some us against the world shit, and you draft 8 times in the first 2 rounds this year. How many seconds they got next year? 3?
They have 4 this year. They have 7 picks in the first 2 rounds, which is more draft picks than the Leafs have this entire draft. Next year, one of the first... This is just for right now. 1 of the first, 1 of the second, 3 in the third already. But you know that that's going to balloon.
If I were the Coyotes, I'd be trading this year's picks for next if I could.
Why?
It's supposed to be a better draft.
Oh, okay.
Well, if you can, I mean, you have enough draft capital to get a good mix of both.
Yeah, you do.
Right?
Yeah,
so imagine if you do overachieve and you are in a playoff spot roughly around the trade deadline and you do want to go for it. Dude, they're a fascinating team. The more I think about them, the more I want to see it.
By the way, Andrew Ladd is on
man.
there. Andrew Ladd.
They're going to have a bunch of those players next year. A bunch of dudes who you thought retired who, oh shit, they have 47
old guys
points.
who make a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah, their top scorer is going to have like 53 points. But
it'll be a bunch of guys with 40 points.
Yeah, their 8th scorer is also going to have about
Ryan
the same.
Dzingel has to play there again. He's a name. That's a name that needs to be there.
Totally.
Ryan Dzingel's the kind of guy where you're like, he's got to be a Coyote.
I'm a big fan of Dylan Guenther. He's one of their prospects. I hope he makes the leap this year.
Is this because of video games?
Well, I acquired Dylan Guenther when I was the Buffalo Sabres GM, and he was a star in the second and third years of our franchise, and I project him to be a star in the real life as well.
Boo, fart.
So
Also-
I'm hoping well for Dylan Guenther. Why am I getting booed for cheering for a prospect I
Boo
like?
and fart. Also, the Coyotes just aren't serious about this draft. They don't have a 4th. They don't have a 7th. Come on, take it seriously.
That's true. Yeah.
I hope they somehow find a way to get that Ottawa pick. Like the Ottawa,
7th?
because apparently that pick is available. It'd just be great to see a team with 4 first-round picks.
Matt Murray and
we've seen 3.
Karel Vejmelka. Oh yeah, no, I am cheering for chaos.
Yeah.
Karel Vejmelka, another right-handed goalie.
Oh, that's right.
Hey, let's go.
Hey, whoa, it's growing. Whoa.
There's like 3 of them, and then we mentioned 2.
Well, there were a few years where it's like, where'd they all go?
Yeah.
I remember growing up, there were right-handed goalies. There's right-handed goalies in the Hall of Fame. Grant Fuhr.
They've all disappeared.
They all disappeared. Nope, they're coming back.
Speaking of the draft, congratulations, Steve. You are now co-workers with Pierre McGuire. He's going to be making an appearance on Sportsnet. They've hired
Not
him
an
for the
appearance.
coverage.
He has made appearances. He's already there.
Oh, he's already been doing
He's
it?
been on the shows.
Is that a thing?
That's a thing.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You are peers.
Always been pro I'm into it.
Well, you know what? I can't wait. I do want to know.
What are you laughing at?
I can't wait till they are like, okay, Pierre, Ottawa's going to draft. What say you? You know what I mean?
Probably someone bad.
I don't know. I'm curious about that. He'd been waiting for years to get that job with an NHL team. He's gone. I'd like to know, is there some salt with that pepper? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
He should just hate on all his former teams. The Penguins.
The Carolina Hurricanes.
All of them.
Yeah.
NBC.
Did you know your butt has a favorite app?
What is it?
It's SeatGeek. That's right. SeatGeek takes your butt places. It takes your butt places to place your butt in fun places where your butt can enjoy itself.
Like on the sink? For
Maybe not. No, you don't have to buy anything.
Oh.
No.
Different places.
We're thinking more concerts this summer, with the world opening up and everything. Here's what you need to do. You can get $20 off your first purchase with the promo code SDP at SeatGeek.com or on the SeatGeek app. Go and see your favorite team, your favorite concert, wherever it is you haven't got to do the last 2 years. Go do it with SeatGeek. That promo code, again, is SDP for $20 off your first SeatGeek order. SeatGeek. Get your seat in a seat. Download the app today. Who doesn't love cereal?
Bad people.
Bad people.
Yeah.
People you don't trust.
No.
But here's the thing. Cereal's great, but it's not necessarily always the best for you. Except with Magic Spoon, it can be. In fact, it is. 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 to 5 net grams of carbs in each serving. It's low carb, it's keto friendly, it's gluten free, it's grain free, it's soy free, and it's 140 calories per serving. Now, let me ask you this. Would you go with cocoa, fruity frosted, or peanut butter? Steve, Jesse?
Fruity frosted.
Doesn't matter. You can get them all. Go to magicspoon.com, promo code STP. It's magicspoon.com/STP to grab a custom bundle of cereal and try Magic cereal for yourself. Be sure to use that promo code STP to save $5 off of your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they will refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal is at magicspoon.com/STP. Use the promo code STP and save $5 off your first order.
And then that's a happiness guarantee.
Yeah. Athletic Greens, better gut health, more energy, stronger immune system, and a really easy way to get all of the nutrients that you don't normally always get unless, you're getting them in pill form, and then you got to pull out the pill box and do all that. You know what I mean?
That sounds exhausting. Is there a better way to do it?
There is, and that's Athletic Greens, Steve.
And you don't have to be an athlete to take Athletic Greens.
Green.
No, you don't. It's strange.
No, you don't have to be a green person.
75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole foods sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. How about that?
I'm always saying, man, I can't with these adaptogens.
So to make it easy, Athletic Greens would like to give you 1 free year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/STP. That's athleticgreens.com/STP to take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Own it like a house.
You got to work on your outlines there, pal. And lastly, before we actually get into it, I just thought you should know that JFresh had a fan base survey, and here are the results.
You're not going to believe
6,500 people answered this, by the way, which is kind of crazy. Which team has the most annoying fan base? Far and away, the Toronto Maple Leafs win that. The New York Rangers are second, and Montreal Canadiens third.
Whoa, the 3 biggest ones. That's nuts.
Which NHL fan base is the most delusional?
Oh, I guess the Leafs got
the Leafs got it. But who was second?
Great service.
No one's paying attention.
Who was second on that? Who was second?
You can't hate us more than we do. No one's paying attention.
Yeah. Who was second on that? Most delusional fan base. According to other fans, right? So it's
Oilers.
Hey! Now, who's number 3?
Boston.
Interesting.
Ooh. Rangers.
Hey! Look at that. You know what's crazy is the Rangers fans, any experience I've had with Rangers fans, they've been great.
Those are two
Why are Rangers fans? Is it the Islanders fans that just hate Rangers fans?
Could be, but 2 of those delusional teams made it to the Final Four.
Yeah.
The Rangers were 2 games away from the Stanley Cup final.
I know.
2 wins away.
Why are they deluded?
There's no delusion, but they overachieved based on expectations. That's ridiculous.
Well, you're asking fans to be...
The fans don't have the right perspective on these teams.
Well, you tell them, Jesse.
What the fuck is that?
Which NHL fan base is the most unhinged and prone to melting down over next to nothing?
Probably Toronto.
Yeah, but who's number 2?
Boston?
No,
Montreal.
New York.
New York.
Well,
and then number 3
in there as well.
Montreal.
Edmonton.
No.
Which fan base?
Toronto, Edmonton, New York.
Which fan
All these
base?
Toronto, New York, Edmonton.
No,
All those questions.
Toronto, New York, Edmonton, Montreal, Boston. Is that the right answer?
It's not.
Oh, okay.
This one has to be. This one has to be different because which fan base do voters now find more annoying than they did before the 2021-22 season? So they weren't annoying before, but now they are more annoying.
Okay, St. Louis must have rocketed up those charts.
St. Louis is 4th.
Oh.
Colorado, Arizona.
Colorado is 5th. Arizona is a non-factor on this one. I don't know why you said Arizona.
I don't know,
Tampa?
They're always in the news.
Tampa is number 2.
Hey,
Tampa makes
all
sense.
Right,
Trying to think of
more annoying than they used to be.
New York.
New York Rangers number 1. Gold medal.
I was right.
Again,
Edmonton. Edmonton. The other
these
answer.
Rangers fans?
Edmonton.
Edmonton is the other.
Oh my God! I said this.
All right,
Edmonton.
What if we ask several near identical questions? I wonder if we're gonna get different answers.
Oh, Adam, tell us that New York won something.
Give me this one. Which NHL fan base is low key more annoying than they get credit for?
Edmonton.
Okay, Leafs are number 1.
No,
Edmonton.
The
New
Leafs
York.
are not. The Leafs are not even in the top 15 on that.
Wow.
Because it's low key more annoying, not high key.
St. Louis.
Why are there just different ways of saying annoying?
Yeah.
No, but like, who's annoying?
I'm sorry, Jay Fresh. This is annoying.
Yeah.
Concept.
All right.
Or actually, no, the concept is
what
fine.
is
I love
this?
it. I love it.
What
I
is
love
this?
it. Okay,
Give it.
which NHL fan base is low key more annoying than they get credit for? Who are the top 3?
Calgary.
Calgary is not in there.
Vancouver.
I don't find Calgary fans that annoying.
Montreal.
Nope.
Nashville.
Nope. They're in there, but
LA.
nope.
Your mom.
Low key more annoying.
What are the answers?
Number 3, Oilers. Number 2, Lightning. Interesting. Number 1, by far, the Carolina Hurricanes.
What?
They have an annoying fan base that doesn't take as much shit for how annoying they are, I think, is essentially the whole point.
Yeah.
Which NHL franchises were most willing to describe their own fellow fans as annoying? So who sees themselves in the mirror?
Toronto, Edmonton, New York.
None of those are right.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Let's move on from this. Let's get to the next questionnaire from Jay Fresh. What is your favorite lunch meat? Next one. What is your favorite meat to have in a sandwich? Next one. What is your favorite sub meat?
It's weird that he's just asked
What is your
40
favorite
questions.
deli item?
What fan base is willing to describe themselves as annoying? That's basically the question.
The Leafs.
Okay.
The Leafs are not on there. They're number 5.
We know we suck.
But who's number 1?
Tampa.
No.
Boston.
Nope.
Carolina.
Nope.
Florida.
Montreal Canadiens fans.
They're number 1.
They think that they're annoying. Flyers fans at number 2. Knights fans number 3.
But that question doesn't make sense because you'd have to be a fan base of that team to answer that question.
Okay.
You know, like you could, if I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, I would have to answer Toronto because I'm my own fan base. So I would know if I think I'm annoying.
They would just say, you're a fan of the Leafs? Are Leaf fans annoying? Yes or no?
Okay.
Okay. Which fan base
Give us the next one.
Isn't as annoying as its reputation? Hey, we're not as annoying as you think we are. Who do you think won that one?
That's the same question as like 3 questions ago.
This is awful.
What's the next?
I love this.
What's the answer to that one?
No, you want to know?
Habs.
Leafs.
Oh,
Not as annoying as its reputation. Now, I bet a bunch of Leaf fans flooded that one. Okay.
This New York and Edmonton the other answers?
The other answers are the Bruins and Hurricanes. Okay. Here's another one. Which fan bases are other teams' fans particularly fond of? So, you like this team even though they're not your team.
Hershey Bears.
No, seriously.
Wheeling Nailers.
Who do other
fans fans like
dumbass question? What is it?
Fans
Carolina.
Like, it's not your team, but you like them.
Carolina's
number 2.
Hey, Tampa.
Not on there. Not in the top 3.
Montreal.
Not in the top 3.
Vancouver.
Not in the top 3. Vancouver.
I don't know.
The Dallas Stars.
Colorado Avalanche at number 1. Carolina Hurricanes number 2. Calgary Flames number 3.
The questionnaire wasn't very good.
I want a new one. Favorite shades of red.
I like burgundy. Does burgundy count?
Probably poppy.
Oh yeah, poppy's a good red. Yeah.
Blood.
No, blood's not.
Which is slowly seeping out of my eyes and ears.
He also, by the way, Jay Fresh does say that he made adjustments based on fan base size. So
okay,
yeah. So I think that's interesting. Which fan bases?
Era-adjusted fan annoyingness. This is the most tedious.
Which fan base thinks they don't get enough attention for their favorite team, I guess, from the media?
Toronto.
Is it the Leafs?
No, it's not.
Has to be
the
Leafs.
Oilers. No, the Leafs.
Easily the Oilers.
Edmonton is not. They do not.
Carolina.
Okay, it's wrong.
Dallas Stars and Ottawa Senators and New Jersey Devils. Yeah, Carolina is in there. Yeah. So those are the 4 at the top of the graph. I thought that was fun. I enjoyed that.
From who?
Huh?
Don't get enough attention from like Canadian media?
I'm assuming it's just from local media or Canadian media or national media.
Well,
American media as well, obviously.
Like in Dallas, you're like
undercovered, underrated.
You're like 8th on the list of pro sports teams, right? Even if you count in like football. Like Texas and
you'd be behind college sports, right?
Oh yeah, all those big college schools down in Texas.
Okay. Favorite types of chips. Next one. Favorite things to buy in the chip aisle.
Stop.
Favorite
peanuts
thing
are in the
to
chip.
eat when chips are the only thing available.
Peanuts are in the chip aisle.
Guys,
I like peanuts, yeah.
I enjoyed the hell out of this survey. I thought this was fun.
The questions weren't
that
great.
survey was the worst thing that ever happened to me.
I do like this. I also tracked which teams were most often picked as most annoying by each fan base. 81% of Montreal fans voted for Toronto, 79% Winnipeg, 76% Edmonton. These are all people who voted for Toronto.
Is this based on BS?
So basically,
as well, how come I got shit for that? And this is great.
The country,
this is gold
because this is fact based. 6,500 people voted. Most fan groups think Toronto's the most annoying, except for Pittsburgh, who voted New York Rangers fans as the most annoying.
It's all skewed because your rival is.
I don't know. He explains why it's not skewed in the thread. You guys should check it out.
No. We should check it out. Steve.
I don't think I'm going to.
I don't know, man.
Steve, I think you've been too hard on it up today.
Yeah.
With the pronunciation of that gentleman's name, and then
what is it, Corey?
What do you care?
Maziak?
What do you care?
Maziak? Did I get it right? I'm sorry. Apologies. I do apologize.
No, he ranks number 4 on most annoying writers.
Apologize.
No.
Apologize.
You apologize.
Kiss it.
Apologize. Kiss it. For introducing this topic. Kiss it.
That's a deep South Park reference.
Let's do the press conference.
There's no press conference.
All right, that was the press conference because it was that damn good. I don't know. I enjoyed you. I love watching you guys get mad. It's so fun. That was fun.
It's not very hard. You can make us mad pretty easy. I'm excited to talk about the Minions movie one day.
Oh, tomorrow. Gentle Minions. Let's do it tomorrow.
All right.
Anyway,
I'll hit the button.
Let's hit the button.
Favorite types of lettuce.
Stop it. I mean, Toronto was always going to be the most annoying.
But listen, I value your time too much, Jay Fresh. There were way too many fucking questions on that.
The Steve Dangle Podcast.
Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada's Sportsbook.
Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.